Ageism is defined as stereotyping and discriminating against a specific age group. It impacts individuals at any point in their lives, and it is so ingrained and so pervasive in our society that oftentimes it's very difficult to recognize it when it happens to ourselves and to others. People think that ageism only impacts older adults, but that is actually not true. The following stories that you're going to see will show just how multi-layered and how pervasive ageism is, and how it intersects with every aspect of our lives.
It's also the first time in my life that I had a desk job. Before that, all my jobs were active. So I noticed that, and my friends would do the same thing. You know, once we started getting, we're all about around in our 30s now, and everyone is pretty much, oh, I'm getting the dad bod. I'm out of shape. I can't do this. I can't do that. And I'll make a point to, you know, be active 3, 4, 5, 6 every day if I could, and then just take a rest day. And I started realizing that it's not that we're getting old, it's that we're changing our habits, and, you know, things pick up. You know, a lot of us are married, kids, careers, so we tend to focus more on that. And it's not wake up 7 a.m. to go to school, get your body going. You know, those kind of things keep you physically young. And as we get older, you know, our lifestyles are well, we find important changes, and our health isn't always there.
Like, I know people in my 20s who are women who are getting Botox in their forehead to prevent wrinkles or whatever it may be, and it, or like all these different beauty products and routines and such, and it's just, I think it's great, but at the sense it like almost makes you afraid of aging. Like, oh, I'm 25. Oh, I'm gonna be 26. I'm already halfway through my 20s. Like, that shouldn't be something that like I should be afraid about. But like, it is something that's like, it feels like this pressure that I need to like figure out my life, what I'm doing, who I need to be, like with dating and such. Like, it's just kind of like I need to like figure out more, I guess, my path and be more certain in it.
So it's hard not to talk about ageism and also being from the Asian community. Our family is very driven by a hierarchically system where whatever's older, whatever they say, no matter where they are in their lives, they're right. I'm the first in my family to get my bachelor's degree, and I'm the first in my entire family to get her doctorate's degree. And no matter how many credentials I have behind my name or around my name, I'm always going to be the pipsqueak. So I can't have any input on certain things like medical decisions. It always falls upon my older sister's responsibilities. Meanwhile, here I am always trying to prove myself. Like, no, I know what I'm talking about. Trust me. So any injuries family members would have, I would make recommendations, and they'd like pause before they even trust me. So part of me wonders if that's related to being younger, the youngest girl, or is it just their fear that I don't have enough experience? So for me, it's more of an internal validation thing. You know, being young, I'm always perceived as not knowing enough. And I'm not saying I know everything, but there's some things that I want to get validation in. So I think that stems from the feeling of always being recognized as the pipsqueak of the family.
So with being a millennial, of course, with people my age, the biggest stereotype is that we're, you know, snowflakes and all need like participation trophies. And I think that there's a huge idea that we're not willing to work hard to get what we want. And I think that's really affected me in the fact that I feel like it's almost motivated me to work harder. And I feel like I've also had to work harder to prove myself, especially being a young woman in the medical field, especially more so lately. I feel like I've really had to prove my worth, and, you know, I'm here to work hard and I can contribute something.
I am a mom. I have a 3-year-old, and I, for the longest time, had that fear of like the stereotype around having a child when I was older. I don't even know what that means now, because now I'm almost 30, and I'm like, man, I probably should have waited. I have my stuff together a lot more now than I did when I was trying to have a baby in my 20s. But I think that there's this stereotype that like fresh out of school, I should have, which I did do this a little bit. I fell into this. Like I got married, we had a baby. Unfortunately, we have separated and we're divorced. But there was just this like weird like pressure to do that. And if I didn't do that, then there was the pressure to go back to school. So it's just been this weird like trying to figure out like what my age should be doing.
I got pregnant with Maddie when I was 40. And then all the things I heard during my pregnancy were kind of negative, you know, all the things that could go wrong, all this, that, and the other, or you won't be able to keep up because you're going to be older and you won't be able to do these things with your kids. So I felt like being a mom was stereotyped too, you know, so whereas I actually feel like it kept me younger. And I proved it wrong. I have a beautiful baby. So
people think when you're retired, you're a has-been. But we've also had a lot of experience in whatever career we chose. And I did hair for 35 years. And I had clients that were anywhere from age 1 to age 90 something. And I just felt that hopefully I could be a good example to the younger and learn a lot from the older clients, which I did. And I've never let my age hinder me. After I lost my first husband and started dating someone else, I'm going, well, why not ride on the motorcycle? Why not go have fun? I'm not a has-been. I can still do these things.
I guess I can speak to my 91-year-old grandma's like experience. We kind of talked about this, but people of her age, I feel like they're perceived as not being capable of some of the things that they were capable of, and that they don't, like a lot of times they're not able to drive, or they don't feel or like capable of doing certain things and such. She also feels like sometimes she's like a burden and such. And we also talked to like how Western society views their elders versus like Eastern societies and such. So that was kind of a discussion too. And my grandma is from Ireland, so I don't know, she just views things differently in some senses. But I feel like the older population, a lot of times people who are younger view them as like, oh, they're just older, they don't know what they're talking about, but they do have a lot of stories and insight to life. And I've been to senior centers and sat around with seniors at tables, and they're totally with it, and they offer good advice, and their decision making is very sharp. So I don't think they're not capable of what people, how they're portrayed in the media, or how some people see older people. So just because physically they may look older doesn't mean their mind is older or incapable.
As you have seen with the stories, ageism is definitely very pervasive and very ingrained in our society. It impacts how we see others and how we see ourselves, and it highly influences how we live our lives and how we see our self-worth. This is such a huge problem, especially for older adults, because ageism implies that older adults are invisible and weak, and that they have essentially served their purpose, right? And the thing is, that's not true. It's not true at all. But because of this narrative around older adults, right? Around this perception. It impacts how they see themselves and their capabilities. It impacts their ability to continue engaging in the valued roles that they have and their habits and their routines.
Research has shown that ageism towards older adults leads to a shorter lifespan, poorer mental and physical health, slower recovery from disability, cognitive decline, decreased quality of life, increased social isolation and loneliness, restricted sexuality, and increased risk for violence and abuse.
Combating ageism is so important because aging is inevitable. It is a natural process and it is a natural part of our lives. Every single one of us is going to age, and we shouldn't just be defined by our age alone. It is not our only identity. We should all be striving for having a good quality of life, and aging should not change or hinder that. Regardless of our age, we should be free to be able to choose how we want to live our lives and who we want to be.